Hey everybody, today is going to be one of those videos that I make with my thoughts on the industry, on video games in general, and today we're going to talk about game price and how it's affecting game sales and gamers' perspective on games as a whole. So last week there was a huge conversation around this tweet that you're seeing on screen. Some people were saying it's the market and that's why a lot of games are not selling that well and flopping. And then you got the other side that's saying, no, it has nothing to do with the market because there are still games that are doing well. Well, I think is the sum of both. I think two things can be true at the same time, and it all comes down to value proposition. Now, back in the pandemic era, a lot of people had plenty of money to, spare on extras that were necessities. There was checks being sent out, a lot of money was being printed, and people had a lot more money than they do nowadays. So that's why a lot of games that did pretty well during the pandemic, I don't think they would have done well if they were to be released today. And what we're seeing is, aside from the argument of market versus quality, we're also seeing a carryover from the pandemic. Back when the pandemic was a thing, a lot of studios, investors, etc. saw that video games were doing well in general, so they decided to make a huge investment. A lot of video games were made in the same vein of those games that were doing pretty well during the pandemic, and they're not doing well today because people don't have a lot of extra income to go around. So they're looking for value proposition. That's why a lot more people wait for discount. A lot more people are flocking to free-to-play games. So yes, the market has a lot to do with it, but also the quality. See, games that people really want are doing pretty well. Look at Arc Raiders. That game sold very well. We also have a lot of games that came out this year that have done fantastically well. So it is the market, but when you have a market like this, only few games will rise to the top. And in the argument of value proposition, I give you the game that I'm playing right now, which is Assassin's Creed Shadows. By the metric of a lot of Assassin's Creed fans, myself included, this is not a great Assassin's Creed. And from what I hear, I don't think it flopped because there's numbers all around it, and it's very hard to say if the game flopped or not, but it didn't do well. It didn't do as well as Valhalla did, even though I think this game is better than Valhalla. And I know some of you Assassin's Creed fans will disagree with that, but I'll have my thoughts soon on another video that I'm doing about Assassin's Creed Shadow per se. But going back to the point of value proposition, see, when this game came out, it was $70. Now, this is huge open world AAA with a lot of content, but the value proposition to me wasn't there because it's not a high quality Assassin's Creed game. However, I bought this game for $43. I think this game is a huge value proposition for $43. So I'm happy, and I've been having a lot of fun playing this game lately. Now, when you see other games, like for instance, Arc Raiders, which I just mentioned, versus Outer Worlds 2. Arc Raiders is $40. Outer Worlds 2, even though it's a AAA from Microsoft, RPG, open world, all those things, is $70. And if you see the chatter online, Outer Worlds 2 has a lot of problems when it comes to stuttering and how it performs on PC. I think it's ridiculous that this game is not performing easy on PC at 100 plus with the way that it looks. Geometry doesn't look that high, so the value proposition isn't there. I'm positive if this game, talking about Outer Worlds 2, would have sold at around $40, even at $50, it maybe would have sold a lot better than what it did today, because $70 is starting to be a big ask. And one of the funny things is Microsoft tried to pull the $80 games with this, and it didn't work. They had to back down to $70, and I think $70 right now is the base price for AAA video game. I think they're going to try to raise it even further, and it's going to be harder because $80 as a number is a big ask for many gamers. So you're entering into the territory of, yes, you are going to make more money per unit, but you are going to sell less units overall. This is the same argument that I heard someone talking about restaurants and how expensive that they are. If you are catering to like only people with a lot of money coming to your restaurant's gonna fail, because you need a lot of people in your restaurant all the time in order to do good numbers. I think the same applies to video games. If you raise the price to the point where only the more wealthier people can afford to buy your game, then you're not going to sell the numbers that you need, especially with today's budget, which I'm going to have another video about video games budget very soon, so make sure you subscribe for that. The issues that companies are missing is that the value proposition has to be there. It doesn't mean that the game has a lot more content, because often the more content a game has, the less quality that content is. A lot of games sold pretty well back in the day, like Uncharted, that were not very long games, and it was just a one and done situation where you got to the end and that was it, and a lot of people enjoy it, and nowadays those games are classic. Another reason why I think the market is a good argument is looking at Hollywood. Hollywood is also not doing well, and whether you think it's because things have gone woke or not, I think a lot of people are just not going to the movies as usual, because it's too expensive to take a family to the movie. If you have a family of 4, you probably end up spending $100, and not everybody has $100 to spend in a movie that maybe they can watch at home, with, you know, the food that you like, with the people that you like. You don't have people with their phones up disrupting the movie and all that. So yeah, the value proposition is something very important that I think a lot of gaming companies are not seeing, and that's why a lot of them are failing. They think more content means that the game should cost more. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think price is affecting game sales, or do you think it's just based on whether people like their game or not? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening to me all the way to this point. Subscribe, like, and do all those things that YouTube want you to do in order to get the word out there. Please help the channel. It's just one like goes a long way. Again, thank you so much for listening to me all the way to this point, and I'll see you in the next one.